750mm of steel. The minimum range was 100 meters and the maximum of 4,000 meters, and the average velocity of the missile was around 370 meters a second. The problem with the Bastion missile system wasn't its efficiency. It could destroy practically any contemporary enemy tank at its time, but its price. Two of these missiles were expensive as the entire tank. All these changes were of course extremely heavy. The weight of the vehicle increased from 36 to 40.9 tons. To compensate for this increase, the vehicle was given an upgraded variant of the classic V55 engine called the V55U, with its power increased from 580 horsepower to 620 horsepower. As for the suspension, there were some slight tweaks to it, and the drive sprocket received a welded cover. That prevented the track from slipping from it. The vehicle also received new track links and with different grousers for improved off-road capabilities. There were 4 subtypes to the T55M. The standard T55M is described as I've just mentioned. The T55M1 is the same vehicle but without the Bastion system. The T55M-1 is a T55M with a 690 horsepower V46 5M engine instead of the V55U. And finally, the T55M1-1 is a T55M without the Bastion missile system but with the V46 5M engine. As you can see guys, this vehicle has so many different variations and models, it is extremely confusing as to tell where they come from and what features they have. Visually, it's quite difficult to tell them apart from each other and other modernised variants. Indeed, many of the T55M photographs available on the internet today are mislabeled as Czechoslovakian or Polish tanks. The Soviet T55M was further developed to produce the T55MV equipped with the Contact ERA kit, or Explosive Reactive Armour kit. It's difficult to track how many T55s were modified to the M and MA variants in the Soviet Union. The best estimate is around several thousand, which was then made their way across the globe and distributed all over the place. Details about their combat performance are also quite equally sketchy, although some were apparently used in Afghanistan, but I never saw any to be honest other than the ones that were completely annihilated. A considerable number of T55s, including the T55MV model, was sold to Syria, and sources of varying quality place hundreds of T55M variants in Angola, Cuba, Finland, Georgia, Sudan, Somalia, Uganda, and although given the normal chaos of it all, at least some of them have likely made it to both Polish and Czechoslovakian origin, which are not identical to the Soviet ones. The T55 was most effective against light to medium armour vehicles. The basic ammunition load for the main gun was 43 rounds. External fuel cells made the tank very vulnerable though, as it does have very thin armour protection on those barrels. The T55 has limited ability to depress its main gun, hindering the tank as it fires in the defilade from high ground. In addition, the gunner's primary sight is slave to the main gun, which does not allow the gunner to acquire targets in a hull-down posture. Although the half-egg-shaped turret of the T55 has good ballistic qualities, it provides extremely cramped working conditions for the crew, resulting in a very slow rate of fire, and the protection afforded by its low silhouette, 1 meter lower than the M60s back in the day, is counterbalanced by its poor armour protection really, which is quite thin by Western standards. By the same standards, its gun control equipment was also very crude. It shares the disadvantage of most Soviet tanks back in its day by having the limited ability to depress that main gun, and thus not being able to be effectively exposing itself to engage targets. Ammunition and fuel were also stored in quite vulnerable positions within inside the vehicle. The lack of turret baskets also prevented loading difficulties, and there's also limited amounts of ready ammunition in the turret. The driver, commander and gunner are all in line with one another. The T55 is also not airtight. Although crew members are protected from radioactive dust by the filtration system, they must wear their individual protective masks and clothing to guard against chemical, biological and difficult nerve agents. But at the end of the day guys, if they were going to use chemical weapons, I think that's something they were considering anyway and weren't too concerned with. The tank normally should be able to pass through contaminated areas rapidly and then be fully decontaminated before it's fully operational again. The tank can be made watertight for fording obstacles up to 1.4 meters deep. However, it may take up to half an hour to an hour to prepare a medium tank unit like this for a snorkeling operation, and the entrance-exit points may also need extreme preparation. So guys, there you have it, a tank that is covered in history from head to toe. There are so many variants of this vehicle guys, which is just outstanding. I mean, it's very confusing at the same time. I mean, we got so many different variants from the T55M, MV, MV1, MV-1, T55K, T55 Alpha, AD, AMV, just the list goes on and on and on. But clearly this vehicle has done its time and is still doing its time to this day. Is that a little concerning? Yes, I would say so, considering it's a vehicle that was designed a long time ago and still being utilised today. But at the end of the day, it is still a mobile gun platform, being able to put a 100mm round onto target quite well with its upgraded systems. That being said, it really has no match against modern main battle tanks that are out there today. It's what I would say is what's called fin fodder, i.e. armoured-piercing, fin-stabilised, discarding sabot fodder. These things just get chewed up like butter, really. It's a real unfortunate situation for those militaries who can't afford more sophisticated weaponry to kind of rely on these kind of tanks. But it is what it is. You know, some nations don't have the money, the facilities, or the resources to be able to host huge, expensive main battle tanks systems, and this is still going to be able to be quite a dependable vehicle depending on the situation being placed into. Tank on tank warfare? Absolutely not. This vehicle would probably get hands down wiped out depending on its variant. If it's an older variant, for sure, against some modern armor. Anti-tank guided missiles are for sure going to knock this thing out. So it is a little concerning knowing that these vehicles are still being utilized today, but that's the way the future is now, guys. We need to upgrade and make do with what we have instead of trying to procure all these new tanks. But I think this is a little bit of an overstatement in terms of upgrading a vehicle. I really do think this vehicle needs to be phased out of most military applications, but it is an iconic tank, and one of which I have a lot of respect for. If you have seen the film The Beast, you should know about this tank quite a bit, and if you haven't seen that film, I would strongly suggest you watch it. It is an absolutely amazing tank film, probably one of the greatest, if not the greatest tank film out there in regards to Russian armor in Afghanistan. Very, very interesting movie. I'm actually not sure if it is a T55, maybe a 62. Pretty sure it's a 55. But go check it out, guys. Fantastic movie. I really think you'll enjoy it. I appreciate you stopping by today, guys. I hope you learned a little bit about the T55-54 series. If you find anything that is incorrect or not as to what the T55-54 series specification should be, or any information that I've placed on there incorrectly, I would love it if you could let me know in the comments section. Also, guys, if you enjoyed today's video, I'd love it if you could hit that like button, leave me a comment. Once again, feel free to share this video around on Facebook and such. If you are new to my channel, please subscribe. Plenty more vehicles coming up in the future. If you have any requests for videos for vehicles that you want me to review or check out, I can do that for you. There's a whole long list of vehicles I'm going down the line of, guys, and other videos that people want me to do, so just stand by for that. I'm working really hard to try and get it out to you. I apologize for some of the comedic value videos I've placed out recently, but guys, there's so many people upset over them. Like, come on, it's just having a laugh. But I guess some people just have a completely different sense of humor to me, which is completely fine. My content's not always going to be liked, and that's okay. So guys, once again, thank you for joining me. All the best from both myself and the T55-54 series. All the best. Bye bye.